Good afternoon. Welcome to the Batman Show featuring Sir Ian, Erik Wood,
Yay!
and myself, Birdman. How is
Yay!
everyone today?
Good.
Good. Great to be here.
We haven't been together for like 2 weeks because someone had to work and then someone had to go to Pittsburgh to see John Williams. And someone just had to be cool over in Scotland.
Well, why don't you tell us about the Williams concert?
It was nice. Opened up with Sound the Bells, and then they did the new violin concerto, which I mean that's fine. You know, Annie, whatever her name was, doing her thing.
Mm-hmm.
And intermission. Then they came back and we did like close encounters, Cinderella, Liberty, bunch of Harry Potter. I'm just not a big Harry Potter fan. No Superman, no Indiana Jones, some Star Wars. Concert felt short. It was 2 hours and 15 with the intermission. It just seemed really short to me, but is what it is, I guess. I'm sure it'll be out on CD within 6 months to a year.
Was it recorded?
I believe so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think my favorite piece they did was Across the Stars. Annie, Sophie, whomever was, killing the violin. But that piece is fine with the violin. Like when she does Marion's theme, I don't like it because that was written for flute. And when you replace the flute with the violin, I don't care for it as much.
Yeah, a lot of these arrangements I'm not really like. The one that just came out was over the weekend, the Han Solo and the Princess. That's like the third arrangement of this piece, and it's just not doing it for me. It becomes less and less about that theme and more about the variations on it. Yeah, and the violin and a lot of kind of noodling, and then once it gets down to the last 45 seconds of the piece, I mean, I turned it off because it was just dragging. I was listening to it, I'm like, it's not going to end, and it's a minute I should actually care about, and I don't. And you could just feel it's like it's the end of a John Williams piece, and especially the solo piece where it's like he's just letting the solos do what they want to finally come to the ending. And to be honest, I don't like it. And yeah, I'm still a big fan of the original arrangement. It's a simple arrangement, but it plays that gorgeous theme, I think about 3 times. And it just keeps building and building and building to that wonderful crescendo. And the other arrangements just seem to butcher the simplicity of the theme and the piece. But I mean, from what I've read elsewhere, people love it. They just think the arrangement's, amazing, and that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of all of these new arrangements that John Williams is putting together.
Yeah,
I just a quick one there before we move on from that. I was quite excited that there was a concert arrangement of that, but as Erik says, it just doesn't go anywhere. It goes on for 4 or 5 minutes now, and there's no. Look at the love theme from Superman. That's to me, that's one of his perfect love themes, and that concert arrangement of it is just brilliant. It builds to a great crescendo and then slowly kind of dies away. Han Solo and the Princess, or whatever the thing's called, just goes absolutely nowhere, and it's just so disappointing.
And the original concert arrangement does have that similar structure to the love theme from Superman. It's very similar in structure, and it works wonderfully. And it has this wonderful cameo also of Princess Leia's theme, and I think it's in the second iteration of the performance of the love theme, and it's just wonderful. And you're right, it does build up to that wonderful crescendo, and it just feels like there's a perfect resolution, and it's clear. It's a clear, concise piece. And again, if Williams feels like he needs to do this and whatever, I'm not saying that he can't do it. It's just not what I'm liking right now with some of these arrangements. Again, I liked what he did with Marion's theme, the actual concert arrangement of Marion's theme, because there was never a concert arrangement of Marion's theme. It just seems redundant though when you play Marion's theme and then you play the Raiders March afterwards, and then you're playing another version of Marion's theme, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I just kind of wish that we would get a chance to hear that. And I heard the original Han Solo and the Princess concert suite when Erik Kunzel came and guest conducted the Toronto Symphony many years ago. But I think it's only been recorded 3 or 4 times, and that's it. So it's a rare theme that you hear recorded nowadays. But I just don't think that what we have now, that Sophie Mutter version, it just doesn't work. I don't think the listener can really grasp it onto the theme. And I think the theme is even now extended by a couple of notes, the way that he's performing it. It just doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah. Sorry, Daniel, you're about to say something then before we just talked
I
over
was going to say, Erik says that everyone seems to like it, but I wonder how many people are really just going to voice adverse reactions to a John Williams piece and be like, nah, I didn't really care for it. It wasn't for me. I didn't like it because. I think most people are just going to be like, oh my God.
I think a lot of people are just going to be polite because
Yeah.
it is John Williams and he's 90 and he's conducting it at 90. Says, oh yeah, kind of well done.
Yeah.
They're not going to go, oh, that was shit.
I wouldn't go that far.
No.
Yeah, I mean it's competently done. I just wish that, when you see that on the program and you're kind of used to, I get to hear that theme, and then it is never played in full at all. I think that you get a maybe a little bit of at the beginning, but then when you think it's going to go, where you think it's going to go, it just kind of darts off, and then for about 4 minutes, it's like, what is this? So when you go to hear the Superman main theme in concert, what do you want to hear? You want to hear what was played over top of those credits all those years ago, and I don't think anybody wants to hear a violin solo version of it that is regularly or hardly recognizable as the Superman theme. But that's just my personal preference. And I have no problem with different arrangements. One of my favorite albums of all time is the Ennio Morricone Yo-Yo Ma CD that came out. Just beautiful cello arrangements for cello and orchestra of Ennio Morricone's music, and it, as much as sometimes it deviates, it still sounds familiar enough and plays the themes that you're used to, but it is all wrapped up in a different type of arrangement. I like that. I really do. It's a wonderful CD. So I'm not against changing things up, but this one just almost seems unrecognizable as what it is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
What did you think of the flute concerto, though? Or sorry, the violin concerto.
I heard it before, back in October. I think that was the world premiere, was when they did it that day. That was the first time.
Yeah.
It's fine. I've got the CD on pre-order, got the LP on order. I'm probably not going to go to it a whole lot, but it's just fine.
Overall, listening to your kind of post concert video report, you just seemed a little bit disappointed with the whole thing. Is that fair? Maybe.
I was very grateful for another chance to sit in the same room with him.
Yeah, sure, but just
try
wise, maybe.
It was very short. The concert was just awfully short. Like I said, 2 hours and 15 with the intermission. That was at least 20 minutes. That's pretty much the first half was just the new concert concerto. So film music, it was very skimpy on film music. So, but I'm glad I got to go. And he was like sitting right across from me, just like right over there on the other balcony, right there, for the first half at least, and that was cool. But yeah, I didn't hear like the people, because like all of us, it's like we're not normies. We don't need to hear the Imperial March, and we don't need to hear the Harry Potter thing. There's things that we got from like a film score that no one even knows about that we want to hear. And I was just like, at every concert, I like to hear at least one thing that they don't normally play. And it was just like the standard play set that's been going on for like the past 2 or 3 years. And that was kind of disappointing for me. Like last time I went to the Boston Pops, okay, I got Nixon, I got Heidi, I got the Towering Inferno, totally surprised here. This time I got this guy right here. You know, I've already got this guy.
And that's what Keith Lockhart did, right? With the Boston Pops.
Yep.
Like he's the one that and that kind of goes along with that CD that they released, the Camera Lights music CD, where it was like, we really want to present some stuff that normally doesn't get recorded or normally doesn't get played in the concert. And I think that's great. I think if you mix and match, the concert becomes a lot more exciting because people will still be able to get to hear the familiar, but then, I mean, for the general public to hear, you know, a Cinderella Liberty or a Dracula or like you said, a Nixon, or even God, man, if they played Stanley and Iris at a concert, I would die. But I think that's a great way. Or anything that's like, you know, even something like a Rosewood or you know, Book Thief, or just something where it's like, hey, here's what you know, and now here's something that you might not know, but is just as good, and you might leave here going, oh well, I've never heard that before. That's interesting, and I might go out and pick it up because I liked it, instead of just constantly playing the hits. But I guess that's what brings out the general public. But it'd be an interesting conversation to have with somebody who isn't a soundtrack fan, where it's like, if you're going to a Williams concert, what do you want to hear? And would you be willing to hear something that you haven't heard before, or isn't in the top 10 themes that you already know? I'd be interested to hear what that answer would be.
Well, I will say this. I had 2 extra tickets because a viewer was supposed to meet me there, but he had a life event that prevented him from coming. And I tried to sell the tickets to recoup the cost for him, and I couldn't sell them to anyone. And I'm like, okay, I'm landing in Pittsburgh. So I asked the airline stewardesses. They had to fly to Houston. I asked the checkout guy at the food court at the airport. I'm like, hey, man, do you want to go to this concert tonight? You know, I got 2 tickets. He's like, well, I got to work till 9. And I'm like, okay. And then they got this giant dinosaur skeleton in the airport. And I was taking pictures of it. And this lady came up with her daughter, and they were taking pictures. And we started talking. I'm like, hey, do you live in Pittsburgh? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, look, I'm not trying to get weird on you here, but I got 2 tickets for the John Williams concert at Heinz Hall tonight. If you will go, they're free. They're orchestra level, free tickets. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Will you go? She's like, what's the catch? There's no catch. I just want them to be used. She's like, okay. And sure enough, they went, because in intermission, I went down to their seats to find them, and they were there. And they said they've never done anything like this before. And it was absolutely amazing and wonderful. And they were so happy. And I was like, cool. Glad you had a good time.
Yeah, you made somebody's day.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's wonderful.
That is, yeah.
I hate things going to waste, especially concert tickets. Just irks me.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Let me welcome the chat real fast. We got David Penzak, Big Al Presents, Anders Falk, how are you? And I think that's everyone so far. And Big Al says, I was put off by the city of Pittsburgh. I was slightly put off by the city of Pittsburgh, but that wasn't the concert. I can separate the two. Heinz Hall was beautiful. Oh, Lord, beautiful. Amazing.
So what is it about Pittsburgh that...
I got propositioned at least 3 times.
Oh.
There was squads of police officers all over the place, like 6 or 4, 2 cops with a drug dog, like all over the place during the day. At nighttime, they were gone. Wow. Streets were crowded with people who looked like they didn't have jobs, and they were doing drugs. I'm like, this is great. I think I was the only person wearing a tie, so I felt kind of like, kind of stand out too much and up here. I wasn't comfortable in Pittsburgh. Boston, 11 o'clock at night. I don't feel out of place. I'm mindful of what's going on, but I don't have a fear of getting mugged.
Interesting.
Pittsburgh was a different story.
Yeah, I've never driven past it a few times, but never been to Pittsburgh.
A lot of empty buildings, a whole lot of empty rundown buildings.
Wow.
And there's nothing downtown Boston that's empty. I mean, everything's in use. David says he worked with the actor who played Max in The Book Thief. That's cool.
That is.
I only saw that movie once. Max was the father, the adopted father. He wasn't the blonde-headed kid, was he?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I've never seen The Book Thief. Is it worth watching?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a good movie.
It's fine. That's not really selling it, Eric.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
Okay.
it's about it. It's
All right.
it's not a waste of your time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It's okay. So
I should put that on the poster, kind of stuttering. Yeah,
Eric
it's fine.
Woods, it's okay.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's not a waste of your time.
Yeah.
It's the kind of movie that you see once and then you're
Yeah.
Okay, Max was the Jewish person they had hid in their basement.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not
and
gonna
I
ruin
only
it for
saw
me,
it.
but
I only saw it because of the John Williams score. So, and
That's why
again,
I saw it.
it's fine.
I used to watch so many films years ago just based on who'd written the music for them. If a new film came out with a score by Jerry Goldsmith, I'd see it. So I ended up seeing a lot of films.
Yeah, it's interesting to listen to. I mean, you think it's a great score on its own, but you've never seen the movie, and you're just like, is the film gonna ruin this for me? Like for instance, I just saw Deep Rising, and I'm like, okay, I like the Goldsmith score a lot. I think it's severely underrated. It's one of his more unique creations in around that time, and that's the first thing I thought of when I was watching it. And I'm like, no one else would write a score of this sort for this type of film. I mean, it's an expensive B monster movie, and it's silly, it's fun, but the score is outstanding. It's really, really good, and you would never, you would hear something, I think, rather generic nowadays. Meanwhile, you hire Jerry Goldsmith, and you're not going to get that. And he could easily have just phoned it in. But
Did
like
he ever
always
phone
does.
anything in?
I would say no, but you would hear things, and you're like, that's not top tier Jerry Goldsmith. Like, I'm sure that a Goldsmith fan could find something great about Along Came a Spider, but it's, I think, rather ordinary. It fits the film, but I mean, the deluxe edition came out, and I listened to it once, and I'm like, well, that didn't help. I'm never going to go back to it. However, I would love to hear a score of that sort nowadays. I would love to hear Jerry Goldsmith come back, but yeah, it's not so much phoned in. It's just not top tier Goldsmith. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, Deep Rising, I'm kind of glad that now I have that in context, because it's really superb. I mean, and the fact that led to The Mummy. I mean, that should have been a wonderful collaboration for Goldsmith with Stephen Sommers, and the fact that it ended so poorly after The Mummy is quite sad. But we got two great scores out of Goldsmith because of that collaboration.
Whatever happened to Stephen Sommers?
That's a good question, because he was hot.
He was.
But did he go back to TV?
I don't know. I was looking him up the other week because I think the last film he did was Odd Thomas with Anton Yelchin.
Right.
Which I don't know if you've seen it. It's a fairly decent little film. But after that, I think that was what, 2014, something like that.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah, and it took ages for it to be released because there were loads of legal troubles, and then after that, there's no sign of him.
Yeah, I mean, because he had two huge hits.
He did G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he had G.I. Joe, which was like, I mean, that's a career ender right there. I mean, he got the He was nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Director. But he's done absolutely. I'm looking at like TV, nothing. Like
I think
he's
G.I.
executive
Joe's the
produced a
last
few
thing he
things.
did.
Yeah.
But his partner in crime, Bob Doucet, who was his editor and kind of a producing partner, I think, he's still working. He's still attached to huge films. But Stephen Sommers has just dropped off the map.
I'm just wondering whether he got too big too fast, and because I mean, you could, unless you're Roland Emmerich, I mean, you just constantly are making these massive, big budget spectacle movies, and then when you got a couple that are, I mean, The Mummy Returns was not very good. That was rushed to come out because of the success of the first one, which I thought was superb. And then you get into Van Helsing, which was just I personally think is an absolute train wreck, but still was a huge hit. But then after that, I mean, it took him 5 years to get it onto G.I. Joe. And you're like, what is, and that should have probably been a hit, maybe. I mean, they were trying to cash in on the Transformers, fame and box office with that one. But yeah, I don't know.
5 Scorpion King movies. I mean, what more do you want from a man?
Right. Yeah. He was producing those. So,
yeah.
But I mean, it's like you look at his IMDb and he's got When Worlds Collide as a producer, but who knows when that's going to come up. But the last thing he directed was 2013. It's almost 10 years ago. I was like, what happened to this guy? He was huge. Yeah, it's amazing. But the thing is, usually like directors like this will then fall back onto something else. Like, for instance, you remember Mimi Leader. She was huge when she started working with DreamWorks. She, I think, directed DreamWorks' first live action movie, Peacemaker, and then she did Deep Rising. But she went back to television, and that's where she started her career. If I'm not mistaken, she was directing ER, and then she just kind of, like, after film kind of let her down, she went back to TV. But I don't still know where in the world Stephen Sommers went, unless he's like, hey, he took the cash that was made on all those blockbusters and said, sayonara, I'm finished.
Yeah, but maybe making films is hard work, so maybe he thought, well, I've made enough money, I'm just going to enjoy life.
He went to the same college as my best friend. That's weird.
Is it?
What college was that?
College of St. Benedict and St. John's in Minnesota.
Oh yeah, I've never heard of it.
Most people haven't. St. John's is the boys' school and St. Benedict is the girls' school.
All right.
I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere, like nowhere, Minnesota, surrounded by trees and nothing else.
Yeah, going back to Mimi Leader, she actually did pretty well on TV after her film days, like feature film days. I think Pay It Forward was like one of the last things she did, and then she got onto like episodic television. Like before that, of course, it was all ER, and then she got into films, but she was doing like West Wing, and she helped produce The Leftovers, and then she directed, I mean, I think it's a superb show. Well, at least had a great first season called The Morning Show. I'm not sure if any of you have seen that. It's on Apple TV. It's a really good show. But yeah, it's interesting.
In this day and age, going from films to TV is not the backward step that it used to be.
You're right. And that's, yes, absolutely. Yes. Right.
Some of the production values and some of the scale of TV shows nowadays is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're right. It's not kind of like a director's graveyard anymore.
Yeah.
And you can easily move from television to film nowadays and be fine. Yeah. So I know this is the Batman show. I mean, I don't know if you guys want to talk about Batman, but we can also talk about a composer who worked on Batman, whose birthday it is today. That's Elliot Goldenthal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How old is he?
I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter. But does
I would say
anybody
67.
67? Let's see.
I don't know. That's just a guess.
Or
I'll say
1954.
64.
I'm crap at math, so I'm gonna figure this out for you guys.
Well, just look up his age. You don't have to work it out.
68.
68.
Oh,
It's okay. I mean, Price is Right rules. You won.
That's true. Yeah.
what do I win?
Brian
you
Price?
get to go first on telling us what your favorite LA Goldenthal score is. Don't say Batman Forever.
No, I like his score for Alien 3. Always have done. I think that was my first exposure to him, really.
I think a lot of us were first exposed to Goldenthal that way.
Yeah, I'm going to go for that. Alien 3.
Excellent.
Daniel?
Interview with a Vampire?
Whew. It's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll say Alien 3 is probably the best thing he's done, but he's written so many amazing scores. But if somebody who isn't familiar with his work or find his work to be rather difficult, which I could see, I would always push them towards Michael Collins, which I think might be his most accessible score. It's very melodic, but has all those kind of Goldenthal traits without it being too weird or too off kilter to turn somebody off. Because if you can go for Michael Collins, then you can branch out and find other scores like Final Fantasy and then Alien 3 and his Batman scores. But yeah, his voice is sorely missed. It's just too bad that whatever happened with that accident that he had, it just kind of just stalled his career. But he's still writing concert music. He's still adapting his music for the concert hall, which I think is great. But I just think that, he would just be a superb composer for numerous films that have come out lately. But yeah, he was a unique voice.
Yeah, I would imagine depending on his health these days, I think composing for film is quite a stressful thing to do and quite a
And I think he was always geared towards the concert hall more so than film. And he's written some extraordinary stuff for the concert hall. Like his Vietnam oratorio is amazing. Othello, which is his ballet, is great too. And then he's starting to adapt his film music into the concert hall. He did one that had bits and pieces of Sphere. That's another one. God, Sphere. If we go from Michael Collins to Sphere, Sphere is so great. And I would love to see an expanded edition of that, because all we have on the CD is the New York sessions and nothing from the LA sessions. I mean, it's still not a bad 30-minute CD. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff on there, but there's so much that was recorded out in LA that we've never heard. And I think I hope Perez gets on top of that, because that would be a magnificent release.
When's Perez due their next kind of CD club deluxe editions? Is it still a few months away, are we?
Yeah, it kind of comes out of the blue, right? It's either...
Sometimes they say it quarterly, but sometimes they seem to come around quite quickly.
Yeah. It surprises you. I mean, it's very different than what it used to be, where, we were all just kind of... We're always checking, either Perez's website or... Because they were always releasing something. Every week there was always a soundtrack coming from Perez Sarabande, and it's too bad that they've kind of... I mean, all they are releasing are these deluxe editions, and they've kind of taken a nosedive, which is too bad, especially for a legacy label.
Yeah, I remember here in Edinburgh, there used to be in all the record shops, as you say, maybe weekly or every few weeks, there was a new Perez CD for the latest film that was in the cinema. They were producing the soundtracks for them, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, which is a shame.
I don't think they have. Well, I mean, they're under new management, and they don't have a Robert Townsend there anymore, who's like kind of running the ship. And making all of these deals and forging relationships with composers. I mean, he could get Goldsmith released on his label at any time, because it's like he and Goldsmith were like best friends. But then he can go and talk to other composers, and Perez Sarabande was like, "Hey, you're gonna release something on Perez Sarabande Records." It was like, that's a prestige film music label. That's great. But now you got like the Water Towers and Lake Shores and Disney and all that, doing their own releases. But still, without a Robert Townsend in place there, I mean, all you're going to have are these legacy titles, and it's great. I mean, as long as Perez stays around and starts releasing their, the titles that they own in perpetuity, then I'm fine with that. Just let's get them out before Perez shuts down shop or whatever, because there's going to be so much stuff lost, like Leviathan.
Oh.
I mean, look, if you can get Beavis and Butthead Does America or Do America released from La La Land Records and have a crowd for that, then I'm sure that Perez can go, all right, well, I'm sure we can release 1,000 units of Leviathan and move them out. So, and by the way, the John Frizzell score for Beavis and Butthead, the movie, is fantastic. So, but that's coming out soon.
Speaking about new releases, I remember in January, someone posted on Facebook that a bunch of James Horner was coming out this year and a lot of John Williams is coming out this year. I ain't seen diddly squat.
Well, Jumanji comes out today or tomorrow.
What does?
Jumanji.
Okay. Well,
so that's a 2-disc set.
That's one.
That's one. We still got a lot of year left.
But this is May. This is May.
Mike Matticino said there's 5 Williams coming out.
Okay, we've only got like 6 more months to go.
I'm pretty sure one's going to be Hook. One will be Hook. One will be a redone, completely perfect Hook.
Okay.
Which hope to goodness that's actually happened. But I think it will, and I think it will, because Matticino completely re-edited that Hook release that came out, the one that completely redoes the entire OST that came out in 91, not the 3-disc set that prized the La La Land presentation, which is really poor. So I think he has the elements. I think they're working on it. I'm pretty sure they're going to be releasing that. It would make sense that that's going to be one of the ones that they're going to want to do and do properly, because that La La Land Records release is not good. But I'm trying to think of, I would say Sabrina. I would love an expanded Nixon.
I would just love a Nixon. I still don't have Nixon.
Oh, no, you don't? Oh, man. I actually tried a few years ago to access those video files that are on there, and it's next to impossible. But thank goodness somebody uploaded the John Williams interview on YouTube. But that it was one of the first enhanced CDs that I ever had. And what that enhanced CD also stopped me from doing was ripping that first track from the CD. I don't know what happened, but I could never get that track ripped properly. So I had to have somebody else send it to me, because the rest of the album would rip properly into iTunes, but I couldn't get the first one. But yeah, it's an interesting interview with John Williams on that CD. It'd be great if we can get that completely like remastered and shown.
Can I get JFK, please?
Yeah, JFK would be great. Born on the 4th of July would be great.
How much extra music would there be for JFK? Do you think? I'm not sure. There would be possibly a huge amount, because there was a lot of music that was chopped and changed and rearranged and reused in the film.
But that's what I want. That right there is what I want.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. What's really going to interest me the most is to confirm what Oliver Stone said back in the day. And when I was doing research for my John Williams show, I found an article where Stone confirmed that, yes, John Williams wrote a handful of cues. Most of them, I think, that they used in the movie way beforehand. Wrote it to the script, and because he was working on something else, and I'm pretty sure it was Hook. But I'm wondering, though, whether he did go back and added transitional cues or rearranged certain things, or actually, like, for a minute and a half here, he wrote a new piece of music. I'm interested actually more so than the music. I'm actually interested more in the story of it. I would love to know the truth behind that. And that would be fascinating, honestly. But it's a great score. I mean, for the album is actually fantastic. And I listened to it recently, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of great stuff on here. But yeah, I'd be very, very interested to hear if he wrote anything new coming back after the picture was edited.
Yeah, what an editing job that film must have been. That's just an absolute stunner of a film.
It is.
No matter what you think of the history or the politics or Stone's beliefs or whatever, it to me it's just a great film. A 3-hour film that goes by in what seems like an hour and a half. It's
right. What amazes me though is that courtroom scene with Kevin Costner. I'm blown away by how, I mean, for the amount of time that he's on screen, but he just owns every moment of it. It's when that's at least when I was like, you know what, he's a great actor. That scene, that's like, you want to point to Kevin Costner being a really, really good actor, a great one. That's it. I mean, he did some great stuff beforehand, but he commanded that movie. It was amazing.
People complain about Costner, saying that he's a dull actor. He does very little, but I think that's where his skill is. He does a lot, but by saying or by just his minimalist way of going at things. I just find, and he's such an interesting guy to watch as an actor as well. And he just holds. How long does that scene go on for? That court scene,
20 some odd minutes.
Yes,
it's pretty long.
Yeah. And it's just Kevin Costner talking. Obviously, you get the various clips, but it's just him talking in a courtroom, which is just, to use a great word, flabbergasting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great movie. I really do.
Did you want Nixon for your birthday, Sir Ian?
No. That's not why I brought it up, Daniel.
You had a birthday last week.
He looks at his list like, which one?
I mean, I can order it off eBay, then they'll send it to me, then I'll send it to you. And
no, thank you, Daniel. You've sent me enough.
I don't understand that.
I very much appreciate
that line of thought. But if you want Nixon, I mean,
save money for Hook when it comes out.
Yeah,
Erik will get you to buy it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it'll.
Speaking about saving money, oh my lord! Have you ever seen something on eBay and you're like, I know it's going to go for more than what I can pay for it, but I just want to be part of the action, and you put in a bid, but you're going to get outbid.
No.
Well, no. I don't buy a lot of stuff off eBay because I'm never completely trustworthy of the sellers on eBay. But I know you buy a lot of stuff on there, Daniel.
I do, and
imports.
And last night, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, the 5 LP complete score box set.
Oh no!
I'm like, this is gonna go for easy $400 or $500. So and I was sitting there watching the countdown, and it jumped up to to the penny what my max bid was with 10 seconds to go, and I'm like, here it goes. It's gonna just go. Yep, counting down. I'm like, any second. Oh, it's over, but it's gonna update. I'm gonna hit refresh, and it's gonna say $500 something. No. Congratulations, and I'm like, no. And I kept hitting refresh, and it kept saying congratulations. I was like, oh,
stop congratulating me. I actually didn't want it.
No, I did want it. I do want it, but
the price was the price right for you?
It's what I would about the most I would consider spending for it. I'm not paying $1,000 for it.
Do you have it on CD?
Yeah, I got the initial release, and I got the expanded. Yeah, but I got the 2 towers. I think I paid around $250 for the 2 towers on LP, the complete. And usually Return of the King seems to go for the most amount. I paid, I think, about $350 for it.
Wow.
So now it's like I just need to get to Fellowship, and that's trending a lot more than what it was 6 months ago. So
so here's my question concerning eBay, because I went around and I wanted to take a look and see if I can find something that, you know, I don't have on CD, but would probably be cheap. But, you know, when you see a cheap price, then you see the shipping for that album, and it turns out to be like the album's $1, but the shipping's $16. So are you able to navigate around and find proper shipping or the proper price for it that will even it out?
you can contact the seller and say, you know, this is my address. Can you give me like an exact shipping price?
Okay.
And I mean, with you being in Canada, I know every time I send Ian a CD, it's like $20 shipping. And that's just what it is. I mean,
That's nuts.
I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I think I might just stick with my used CD store here in town.
Yeah. Because it's not eBay charging you shipping, and it's the postal service.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, honestly. But yeah. I can't remember the last time I bought something off eBay. I think it was these 24-page read-along books that I had lost when I was a kid, and I got them all, but they were all on LP. But I think that was the last thing I ever bought many years ago.
Ian, you got these, right?
Yeah, they're the ones I've got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got DVDs or Blu-rays in those? Probably DVDs.
I think they're DVDs,
think
like the DVD with the whole score on it.
And they re-released them though, right?
Yeah, they re-released them with Blu-rays, with
Okay.
Blu-ray audio. So I got the Blu-ray ones.
I'm glad I got these when I got these, because although the boxes are kind of falling apart, which is irritating.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
the
no.
thing is, I ripped all these as soon as I got them. Not ripped
Yeah.
them, I just kind of tore them apart, but ripped them to a computer.
Be like,
So I don't open these now. I just sniff them now and again and lick them maybe.
But they were going for like thousands of dollars before they were re-released, and
Well, I
I
mean,
thought about selling mine. Yeah,
I mean,
the original CD/DVD releases were going for a stupid amount of money,
that's
and then they were
crazy.
finally re-released. And so I don't know whether the originals are still worth anything. But I think I told the story before. But I got I used to get the promos, but I went out and bought the original releases anyway. But I had the Return of the King, and I thought, oh man. So they only sent me a jewel case with the CDRs for the promo of Return of the King to play on my show, and I'm like, oh man, can I still go out and get Return of the King as the box set? And I did, and it was like $39 or something like that. But it was like a couple of years later, it was like $1,000. Couldn't believe how expensive they became, but they are invaluable. And another thing, and I only found this out when I was doing a guest spot on another podcast. There used to be online liner notes through the onering.net that had sort of detailed liner notes of the way they do in these booklets here, but they had extra information written by Doug Adams that the site's down. So I was like, oh my God, where is this stuff? And so I was able to use Wayback Machine to find them. So they're PDF documents that have more information about the themes and where they are in relation to the score. And it's really neat. They're really neat. And I thought, oh, they must be just word for word as to what the booklets say, but they're not. There's added information. So if anybody does want to find more info about those scores, you'd have to go Wayback Machine and try to find the PDFs, but they're out there. They are. So
are we going to get expanded Hobbit scores, you think?
I don't know. It's not something I want. But maybe. I don't know.
I mean, the films were successful. They were fairly popular, but I think for the hardcore fans, they're not.
I mean, we
quite
did. Didn't you get? Wasn't there like expanded or deluxe editions when they came out?
They're on 2 discs, but I don't think all the music is there.
Okay. I think Doug Adams is writing a book though, so maybe when that comes out. So
Let's see. Two questions. David asked, "Do you have any favorite memorable film composer interviews?" There's one with John Williams being interviewed by, I think, Andre Previn from the early '80s. It's like an hour or so. Okay, everyone's seen it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good.
that's a great one because
it is.
because they're friends.
Yeah,
good friends. They're it's just like you and a mate talking. And John Williams is very, very candid in that. He's not quite as polite, let's put it that way, as he usually is in interviews. He's a bit more honest and outgoing. But that's a great interview.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think of what else. Any that I've seen recently. I don't know. I mean, okay, you know what? One of the most memorable interviews I think ever done was the Daniel Schweiger interview with James Horner for Film Music Magazine / On the Score. And it's one of those rare, real candid conversations with James Horner about just about everything. And it's the one that really kind of opened up a can of worms as to what Horner actually thought about other composers, especially Gabriel Yared on Troy. And Horner gave this very controversial response about what he thought about the score and how his was somewhat different. And but it's very good. If you can find it, check it out. I don't think it's available anywhere online, but it might be, again, YouTube or someone else has it available as an MP3. But it's fascinating. It's a very fast. So it's Daniel Schweiger. It's called On the Score, Film Music Magazine, James Horner, and man, does he ever go to town on Gabriel Yared.
what was his problem with him?
He didn't have a problem with the composer himself, but he was like that the score that Gabriel Yared wrote was wrong. It wasn't, or he wasn't. I don't want to. You have to listen to it. I don't want to misquote him, but he wasn't very favorable to what Yared wrote. But then again, I mean, Horner had 12 days to write his score or something to that point, and he just, again, a lot of classical work inserted into there, to the point that I think it was 2 cues on that expanded Troy release from Entrada that Entrada could not license because of the heavy usage in quotes of classical work. So those tracks I think are available on the original release, but they're not on the expanded release. So and it's an audio interview. So if you can find, again, just look for Daniel Schweiger, James Horner, On the Score, Film Music Magazine. You should be able to find it somewhere. But it's a fascinating interview. It was at one point taken down. Like when it first came out, it was then taken down. I'm sure that Horner's people said take it down, but then years later it was republished and it's still not available to find anymore through the Film Music Magazine On the Score archives. It's hard to find, but you should be able to do a search and find it somewhere. But it's a telephone interview, so his audio you can tell they're talking on the phone.
Thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Ian.
I was going to say I finally made some notes for tonight's show, just to, so I could think of things to say that were quite interesting. But as a kind of connected thing, maybe James Horner wrote a score for a Star Trek film, a couple of them. Giacchino did the newer films. I've always wondered this. Giacchino's Star Trek theme, or what's now known as Star Trek theme that they play in concerts, to me, I've always felt that was just a piece of score from the film, which then got adopted as the so-called theme tune. It was basically used for taking off from Earth, flying up to the Enterprise for the first time, and then they've just taken that, rather than having a fully formed kind of theme to the film, they've just taken a bit of score and maybe jiggled it a bit and said, "Yep, that's the Star Trek theme." What do you think? Is that right, or is that just my uneducated way of looking at it? Or have I just said a load of gibberish there?
No, knowing Giacchino, it's the theme that he wrote. He wrote it. It's probably the first thing that he tackled. And I mean, yeah, the enterprising young men is the famous cue that everybody plays, but that's the main theme for the film. And
Yeah, but,
he would have written that as the main theme.
Okay, moving on.
I mean, you could be. What gives you the? I'm curious because it's been a while. I'm wondering what gives you the idea that it might have been something that.
I know that's the theme to the film, but what I'm saying is, John Williams will he has a Superman theme, but then he'll do a full presentation of that theme for end credits or whatever. But it just seems to me that theme doesn't seem fully realized to me. It's just, it's the bit of the score taken out of the film and played in a concert or at the end credits, if you see what I mean, rather than taking that theme and expanding it into a single complete piece of music.
It's been a while since I've listened to the end credit cue on Star Trek, so I'm not sure whether it's developed during that cue or not. And Giacchino always writes end credit suites. It's just one thing that he does and wants to keep alive.
God bless him.
So I would need to go back and listen to that cue, whether there's an actual like concert suite of it or a fully realized version of that theme. But it's been a while. But
the way I said it there sounded critical. I wasn't being critical.
Oh no! I understand it. I'm just wondering whether I don't think Enterprising Young Men is just taken and placed into the end credits. I would be sure, based on how much I know of Michael, that he's coming up with the thematic material and it's not just a mistake, or it's not just, I mean, it's not like I'm trying to think of another example where a composer's trying to figure out the theme, and one could be Star Trek the motion picture. But I remember Goldsmith talking about not finding the theme for Basic Instinct until Paul Verhoeven found it in just this incidental cue between a discussion with Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone, kind of halfway through the film, where the theme all of a sudden just jumped out, and Verhoeven's like, that's it right there. And then he extracts that out and builds it into the main theme for the film. So I'd have to go back and listen to Star Trek again and to see how that works. It could be the fact that he wrote Enterprising Young Men and went, that's it. That's my, because I mean, it doesn't necessarily beat match to the scene. It seems like it's like what Horner wrote or what like Goldsmith wrote, right? It seems like a fully realized piece of music that isn't necessarily, syncing up to everything in that scene. It kind of just plays over top of it as a fully realized piece of music. So again, based on what I know of Giacchino, he would have written that well beforehand. But it's an interesting thought. I never heard about that before. So
no, it was just something I thought about, and you're thinking, well, he's written that piece for that particular point of the film, and then thought, yeah, that actually works as a complete piece, and instead of just going away and writing a fully realized, I'll just use that because that actually works.
It's possible. I do remember though, just beforehand, where he was talking about having to write something that was going to be as good as Horner's or as good as Goldsmith. He knew that he would have to write something as memorable, but would not necessarily be, compared to those two. Although I do feel like it has a very James Horner feel to it. But that's just me. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that, especially the end credits, and see how he develops the theme in the end credits. It'd be interesting. But what I do love though is that how he just absolutely tears that theme apart in, I think it's Star Trek Beyond. He's just using one element here, the rhythmic element here, a part there. I love it when composers are able to just completely deconstruct the score or the theme within the score. And you just know that these little pieces are from the theme. And it's so instantly recognizable. Like there's 3 aspects, I think, to that theme where if you even just play the rhythm or that there's an ostinato or something like that, or even the theme, there's 3 different elements. It's much like the Superman theme, right? You know, like once that rhythm starts, it's Superman. You don't have to hear the theme itself. You just hear bump, but a bump, right? And it's like, oh, that's Superman, right? And I think that's what's so strong about Giacchino's Star Trek theme is that you can really pull that thing apart and use portions here and there and around, and it works flawlessly. As much as I'm not a big fan of that Beyond film, I think that score is outstanding.
But and he knows where to use the whatever portion of his theme.
Yes.
In the right place as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I went back and watched Doctor Strange last night, and he does the same thing in Doctor Strange. It's as much as that score gets buried under the sound effects. I think that's one of his strongest scores. I also think it's one of his strongest themes, although that it comes very close to the Star Trek theme as well. But my goodness, what a fantastic movie that is too. I remember really liking it when I first saw it, but I think that's one of the best MCU films, mainly because it's all about the characters. It's got great writing, and it has a smart, witty ending that doesn't end in a big kind of CGI fight fest. It is actual. It's a smart film, and I really appreciate it. It's great acting in it too, and I think that's one of the best MCU movies, and I think it's highly underrated.
How do you think the Danny Elfman score is going to be in comparison?
I hope it's brilliant. I really
do too.
And him coming back with Sam Raimi, Raimi's going to let him do anything that he wants. And I'm looking forward to hearing how he's going to adapt Giacchino's theme because he is going to use it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think Elfman did a great job with his Avengers score, and not using Silvestri's theme per se, but kind of using the feel of it, so it didn't feel like a completely new score.
Yeah, he saved that theme, which has now become one of the most memorable themes in 20 years. I mean, without it, it would have died if Brian Tyler was the only composer on that show. But I do like that he used it, and then he came up with his own kind of Avengers theme as well that worked perfectly with it. I mean, God, Danny Elfman is so good, and I hope that, I mean, he's great with adaptation. I mean, the stuff that he did with his Spider-Man theme in Spider-Man 2 was sensational as well. But I think I hope that Marvel and Disney let Sam Raimi do what he wanted to do, and will let Danny Elfman do what he's capable of doing, because we could have something spectacular on our hands here. Because the first one almost feels like a Sam Raimi movie. It is, God, it's gorgeous. It is just a complete, total. Your mind is blown watching that movie, and again, you could not have, without CGI technology, there's no way that movie is made. No. And so, but now with Raimi's crazy brain on this project, I just foresee this going further and further than what the kind of normal MCU cookie cutter movie we usually get. I'm excited because Doctor Strange doesn't feel like a cookie cutter MCU movie either. It's very, very different. And so hopefully this one just blows us out of our seats and does something really unique. So
are we getting a physical release of the soundtrack?
I don't know. I have to see who it is.
I know it's getting dropped on iTunes and all that stuff.
Do you know who the label is?
I don't remember.
Because usually that will let's see. Hollywood Records. I don't think so. Okay. I don't think Hollywood Records releases physical stuff anymore.
Because they didn't do a physical release for Shang-Chi or
yeah, I don't think that's
I think
happening.
Captain Marvel or
Unless that, yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be only digital.
I mean, I'm sure Mondo's going to come out with an LP version of it, but that's probably going to be a year off.
Yeah.
Talking of digital only, that Erik, that piece that you linked to Facebook last week, Avengers Campus.
Yes.
John Pisano. What a
Isn't that a treat?
That is I've listened to that dozens of times.
Yes, so have I.
It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a long time since I heard something like that where I'm like, holy smokes, this is going on repeat for a while.
Yeah.
It is. Oh man. Wow. I'd love a part 2.
Yeah. But there's just the way he weaves all those themes together it's just fantastic.
And it's so surprising because you never know when we're going to show up.
Yeah.
And then you get then he's counterpointing it with the Avengers theme constantly. It's just so enormous. It's an enormous piece, but Piazzano, holy smoke, should he ever get an MCU movie? Or just, I would love to hear him write, man, he could write a Star Wars score. He could write probably an absolutely dynamite Star Wars score. He would be one of my choices now as, yeah, let's see what this guy can do with a 90-piece orchestra and just let him go.
Yeah.
And speaking of Star Wars, someone was asking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Yes. Mr. Anders, expectations for Obi-Wan.
Who wants to tackle this first?
Well, Natalie Holt is scoring it, and she did the Loki series, didn't she?
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know. I don't know. Is she going to be basing her score off the theme that John Williams has written?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
obviously, but I really don't know. I'm sitting here with an open mind, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I think that's kind of what most people that I've seen are either basing it off of, hey, she wrote Loki, so we kind of know what her style is like and it's going to sound like Loki. And that, I think, is about as far from the truth, with the exception of maybe the fact that it's Deborah Chow who's directing Obi-Wan Kenobi. She would have picked her based on Loki. And who knows whether that's the sort of sound that she wants. But with Williams on board, the things that I've heard about John Williams, and especially with Star Wars, that he is pretty much hands-on, even if he's not working on Star Wars, which seems to be kind of odd, because if that's the case, I'm kind of curious as how much influence he would have had on The Mandalorian and that sound of that show, because if that is the case, then I don't think he would have let that score fly. But since he's directly involved with Kenobi, I'm wondering how much hand-holding he's doing for Natalie Holt and guiding her to a specific direction of the score, or whether he's just, hey, I always wanted to write I want to write a new theme. I mean, we had a theme that's transformed into something else now, so let's give him now a new theme, which then Holt will base her stuff on. What I am intrigued by is Holt's background, and the fact that she is she comes from a classical background. She is a violinist, a classically educated violinist, and so she does have that background. And Loki is not the only thing that she's ever done. She's worked on The Crown. She's worked on a couple of other film scores on her own as well. So
she's been up for some Emmys.
Sorry?
She's been up for some British Emmys.
Right, yeah. She's not a spring chicken. So you're right. I don't know what to expect. I don't expect it going down the Mandalorian route, where it's going to be highly electronic and highly experimental. It just wouldn't fit Kenobi. I get what they were trying to do with The Mandalorian. You know, it's a Western and they were trying new things and kind of Marconiing it up. Fine. But Kenobi's something else. So I'm intrigued. I think that she's an outside of the box choice, much like, and I wish I can remember how to pronounce the composer's name for Moon Knight, who's doing a superb job on that show. So if they're willing to step outside of the box and hire like a Natalie Holt instead of a William Ross or a Joel McNeely or whatever. I mean, because if you're getting a McNeely or a Ross or a Debney, then you know what type of style you're going to get, right? You're going to go the Star Wars route. But Holt is a wild card in that she could probably write like Williams, but is also going to start introducing some weird stuff as well. So that's a long-winded answer to it. But Williams' theme I'm intrigued by. I'm wondering how he's going to take it. Is it going to be more subdued, right? Is it going to have an adventurous feel to it, like the Adventures of Han, or will it be more subdued just based on the time frame? I'm curious. I'm very curious. I hope this thing's a home run. I hope this series is a home run. And I'm looking forward to it.
I would have been much happier with that Pittsburgh concert if he had played the Kenobi theme.
Oh yeah.
If he'd been like, "Here's something new I've been working on. First people to hear it. I'm not supposed to play it, but fuck Disney. I'm John Williams."
Wasn't that one of his Boston concerts that he debuted some Oscar fanfare that he wrote, and like we've never heard
that's what he does. It's like, and I was like, I bet I'll bet he'll play the Obi-Wan theme because it happens next month. The show comes out next month, right? I mean, this month now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's at the end of the month.
I thought for sure I was going to get to hear that, but no.
I don't think they could have premiered it using a normal symphony orchestra, because from what I've heard, he's scored it for 30 oboes and a kettle drum.
Well,
yeah.
What?
Okay. Are you serious or are you joking?
No, that's just rot. That's rubbish.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you laugh, but Natalie Holt said that she had like 200 horns or something for the Obi-Wan score. And I was like, 200? Like Conan only had like 16 or something like that French horns?
I know she's using some odd instruments, like something like she's using, I mean, it's not a ram's horn, but she's using something. But I don't know if she's using like 200 horns, but who knows? But I'm interested to hear what she's going to do with it. I'm really interested, and how unique it's going to be, and whether it's going to play in the Williams Star Wars template, and then how much use this theme's going to get. That's the intriguing part, and then whether Williams is going to contribute anything to the score, because he wrote a few cues for Solo that we didn't know about. But yeah, I was it would have been really interesting if Powell had have been brought on board for this. But Holt's an interesting choice. So I'm intrigued, very intrigued.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be any worse than the Boba Fett score. So which is not very good.
And that was, I mean, I enjoyed Boba Fett, but it was an odd series. The episodes with the Mandalorian, I just thought, why are they in here? This is like, scenes that were dropped from season 2 of the Mandalorian that they've, got leftovers. Well, we'll bung them in here and hope nobody notices.
Right.
But I enjoyed the series, but there should have been more of Boba Fett, really, because the series was called Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Anyway.
Powell on Star Wars. Yeah. I mean, I don't think so. I think he's done. I don't think he'd work on a television show. And I don't have any reason as to why, but I just got a feeling that Powell would not work on a TV show. I mean, I don't know. But I just know that I mean, here's the real question. Are we ever going to see a Star Wars film again? Or is everything just going to be, 6-part, 7-part streaming episodes?
Yeah. What happened to was it Rogue Squadron? Was that gonna be?
Yeah, I think
That's been shelved.
Patty
Is
Jenkins
it
left.
Is that definitely shelved? Is it?
Yeah, Patty
That's my
Jenkins left
understanding.
she was supposed to direct it. She's not directing
Yeah.
it anymore. Like, and there was the Ryan Johnson trilogy. I just don't think, I don't know. I don't know where you go with Star Wars. I mean, I think they were expecting big numbers to come out from Rogue One and Solo, and it was just too much too soon. But now I think they've found their footing with streaming. And I think it's like there's a lot of programming, like WandaVision could not have been done as a film. Moon Knight could not be done as a film. You needed those 6 episodes to flesh out that story. So I think with Kenobi, which I think was originally supposed to be a motion picture, now you can flesh out the story. You can really flesh out the story. And that's what they're doing, right? I mean, I think their whole announcement of a year ago was everything is now streaming. And it just makes more sense for them to take Star Wars in that direction. I just don't think we're ever going to see another Star Wars theatrical film. I don't think it's going to be a moneymaker unless you have legacy characters in it. And I think that's why Force Awakens was such a huge success. And it just kind of trailed off after that. Although that's what happened with the original trilogy. Anyway, I don't think Empire or Jedi ever matched the box office that Star Wars did. But yeah, I think streaming is the way to go.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to find that interview that she gave where she was talking about like 200 horns.
I know there was something about horns, but I don't think it was. I think it was something about having just these weird horn instruments. It was probably Variety, right? The Variety interview.
Hello, Retro Reels. How are you? Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Neil.
Wouldn't let me read the Vanity Fair article without like signing up for something.
Well, like 3-year subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where you're going to get it because there's a lot of questions asked.
Okay, here we go. Holt said that theme provided the background of her own work, referring to Williams, which also includes almost 250 horns and flutes, including a hunting horn that became emblematic of the music that follows the Inquisitors.
Wow.
But we're also blending the orchestra with some more modern synth sound as well, end quote.
Now, I wonder when she says 250 horns, is that massed horns or is that just different horns used throughout the score?
Yeah, it's a lot of people to put on a soundstage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I blew past that fact. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I read that and I was just like, wow, 250 horns and flutes. And I'm like, how? That's like 2.5 times the size of a good orchestra. Just wow.
Unless she's sampling them for something, but I'm interested to hear. I mean, yeah, this was being discussed on. I'm sorry, I forget her name.
Sound Engraver?
Yeah, she was doing a discussion about this and how you best represent the otherworldly side of Star Wars, and like, can you capture that still by just using a 90-piece symphony orchestra? And of course you could, but is bringing in like these different sounds and synthesizers and things of that sort to represent a planet or a culture, does that completely go against what Williams was doing, or does it work, or is it effective? And that was an interesting conversation, an interesting thing that she brought up. Because I mean, my example was the Ewoks. Out of, I think, any of the civilizations, that's probably the most distinct in the instrumentation and sound, where It's not necessarily the theme, but you can tell just based on the way that he orchestrated it, that, you know, the barrage of percussion and different instruments used for the Ewoks is quite distinctive compared to the rest of the scores that John Williams wrote. But I could be wrong. I mean, besides the Cantina Band, which again is a source music, but the Ewoks were quite distinctive musically. And was there any other like civilization or race that had a similar style or different
Don't
style?
think so. Don't think so.
I mean, the Sand People kind of had their own theme in A New Hope.
Yeah, but is it?
It would have been interesting to heard that used for the Boba Fett show and expand.
Oh, totally. Yes.
And
Yeah.
Boba Fett had a theme too, in Empire Strikes Back. Hello, where was that?
Right.
Was it a theme or was it just a motif? It was just,
I guess, more of a motif. Yeah.
yeah. But it would have been nice to have heard that in the Boba Fett
It
series,
would.
actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to, in my list of noodlings here, I don't know if you've heard of this, but I came across a jazz CD today by a guy called Jean-Michel Bernard. And it was released recently on streaming, and I think CD. And it's called "The Singular World of Jerry Goldsmith." Have you heard this, Eric?
Yep.
Really?
Have you actually heard the CD?
I have.
Or
I haven't
the
heard that. I
music?
heard it on. I heard it on Spotify.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to hear what were your thoughts.
I think some of it works. There's one that's like that doesn't work, and I can't remember which one it was. It kind of reminds me of a similar album where they did completely different arrangements, but writing for but featuring different solo instruments for a James Horner compilation, and they used the saxophone as the main instrument for the theme for Willow, and it just it was just completely wrong. But there was one, oh man, I wish I can remember what it was.
So it's got Total Recall, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Star Trek Suite, First Blood, Flying Dreams, Russia House, Patch of Blue Part 1 and 2, Gremlins, Chinatown, Piper Dreams, Poltergeist, Free as the Wind, Our Man Flint, and Where the Bad Guys Are Gals, Fierce Creatures, Basic Instinct, Wild Rover, and Rudy. So that's the playlist.
I'm trying to think of which was the one that was the weird one.
First Blood? Can you do that as jazz?
I think that I listened to the First Blood one earlier today, and I think that one actually works.
Maybe it was Total Recall.
Oh, Total Recall.
I'm gonna have to.
I haven't heard a good cover or a good re-recording cover version of Total Recall out of the original.
Kunzel did a good version of Total Recall.
Oh, with his pounding anvil.
Okay, Total Recall's not bad. It's elevator music, so it's very loungy, and it has that. It has the anvil, but it's more like it's ticks, and it's really interesting. Man from U.N.C.L.E. is amazing. I do remember that one, and it really, of course, I mean that fits and works really well. Flying Dreams, maybe that was it. The Secret of Nim track. Yeah, okay, Flying Dreams, that was it. It sounds like a children's television show theme from the 70s. It's really not good, but it's an interesting CD. So
it is.
Yeah.
I liked some of it. Probably 2/3, I would say, but the other third was some of them they just didn't work. And that's just to be polite.
It's an interesting exercise, though.
It is.
Again, I'm wondering. I'll give you the name of the Horner one you should check out, because the Willow one is weird, but Tina Guo's on it about 3 or 4 times, and it's really, really good.
It's funny you should mention that, because it's called The Classics. Is that the one?
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, because they did one a couple of years ago with Hans Zimmer, The Classics, and it's various kind of famous crossover classical artists doing versions of his music. Again, some of them are okay, but some of them are just god awful. I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
why did they think this instrument would work?
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
So, would you recommend buying this CD, Eric?
I would recommend listening to it first on Spotify
Okay.
and see if you would ever go back to it again. It's an interesting idea. It might be something that if you ever want to listen to it again, you might want to buy single tracks from somewhere, but I don't know whether as a whole album it'd be something you're going to go back and listen to many times. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
That's the first time where I'm like, probably not. But
Yeah.
if you again, it's a streaming first, then decide. Don't go into this one blind.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I think for Goldsmith fans, it's an amusement. It's okay, have a chuckle, and then yeah. But the reason I wrote down the classic thing, the James Horner, the one that you mentioned, which wasn't too good, on the Hans Zimmer version of that, is it No Time for Caution or Docking, whatever that track's called from Interstellar? They do a really good version of that on the Hans Zimmer the Classics CD, which I prefer to the original. Funnily enough, it's got a bit more punch and oomph to it.
Yeah, I'm listening to the Willow one right now, and because it starts off like a fully orchestral version of it, but then I think when you're expecting to hear like, oh yeah, there's the solo. It's ridiculous. Because you hear the whole orchestra playing and the trumpets playing the first version of the theme. Then all of a sudden, this squawky saxophone comes in and starts playing, and it's just like, nope, wrong.
Yeah, at what point did somebody go, yeah, the saxophone would really sell that?
Yeah, it's not good.
And all the other people in the room went, oh yeah, let's do that.
But and
a kazoo as well.
Yeah, Tina Guo does Cocoon, Avatar. The Avatar track's outstanding. Two Cellos does Braveheart. It's really good. Again, check out that album on streaming first, and then decide whether you're going to buy a CD. Because there are some good tracks and some bad tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, the saxophone is no, it just doesn't work. But yeah, the Zimmer one's also very interesting too.
Yeah. Again, there are some of those that don't work.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
It kind of reminds me of those Dragon's Domain by Soundtracks Records albums that they do sometimes. Like they did a jazz noir album, and they'll redo some of the themes just for like jazz piano or jazz band. And it's actually pretty solid. The Goldsmith ones, again, Goldsmith really works as jazz pieces. Another quirky album that I have that's more of a novelty, but it was actually very fun to listen to. It was called Cocktails at the Cantina, and it was all kind of lounge swing arrangements of John Williams Star Wars music. So it was really weird to hear, like they do a complete version of the end titles from Empire Strikes Back as a swingy, jazzy piece. It's quite funny. It's quite interesting to listen to. Again, check it out on Spotify. It's not something you probably want to buy. Someone got it for me for my birthday as a gag gift, but I actually listened to it, and some of it's quite good, honestly.
What's it called again, Eric?
Cocktails at the Cantina.
Cocktails at the Cantina. Let's give that a listen.
Let me find the Star Wars CD over here.
Just the one CD?
It's a 2 CD set. It is, because I got to do my Star Wars show next week. Thanks to you, Mr. Ian. Music from the Star Wars trilogy, Collector's Edition, Star Wars Empire Jedi, new arrangement and performances of the music of John Williams. performed by the New World Orchestra, conducted by Andrew Hobson. This CD sucks. This sucks.
Yes, I think is that the one where they just play everything painfully slow?
I don't know what I listened to it one time. I'm just like, oh Lord.
Those are the types of albums that used to just absolutely scare me when I was first collecting, because
look at the artwork on the cover. I mean, it's not.
That's like Battlestar Galactica.
It's like
yeah, because you never knew, right? As somebody who's starting to collect, and you're like hoping for a good compilation of stuff that would best represent this music, and then sometimes you'd hear, well, it was like Bill Broughton in the some Mexico orchestra that he was conducting. Some of it was okay, but most of it was really crap. The recording wasn't very good. And the album, man, I wish I could find it. The albums were really strange. The cover art was actually on the back. And then the track listing was on the front, so you didn't actually have a front cover on the booklet. It was really weird. What was it? Yeah, really odd albums.
I go surfing around Apple Music a lot just to see what's out there, and re-recordings of Star Wars and John Williams, and sometimes you'll come across. I'm just something like All Star Orchestra, whatever it is, music from Star Wars. You think, oh, I'll give that a listen, see what this. And it's obviously just somebody on a Casio keyboard in his bedroom, just going beep 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 beep.
Yeah.
But I came across one, Robert Ziegler and the Slovak Symphony Orchestra. I don't know if you heard this.
Yes.
The Star Wars saga. There's some really good re-recordings of music on that.
Is that the Rogue One and the Rogue Runs?
No, because I don't think that comes out till June. I think fully.
So he's already done other Star Wars recordings.
Yeah, this was
really
music from the Star Wars saga, the Essential Collection. Robert Ziegler and the Slovak National Symphony Orchestra. It's from the first 8 Star Wars films.
Oh yes, I might have this. I think I might.
But they're really, really good versions of it.
Is this the choral-free Duel of the Fates on that?
What?
No.
Which is that album?
This does have a chorus.
Let me see. Why won't it show me the actual album itself? Spotify's weird. Okay, the music of the Star Wars saga, 2019. So they do have Han Solo and the Princess here. And it's the new arrangement. Darn it.
So they've done an arrangement without choir, have they?
No, this was a different I heard one that was without choir, but this one's with choir. There's another Star Wars album. I think it came from it was a Japanese Philharmonic, and they did it without choir. It was like the Star Wars trilogy or the Star Wars saga, and but this one I want to listen to. This is interesting. Like, oh my God, they did the Asteroid Field, probably the concert version, right? Yep.
It is the concert version, yeah.
But they got Forest Battle, which is always a good piece. Show you strength of an orchestra. Cool. They did the Battle of Crate? What?
What?
Out of all of the tracks that they could have picked from The Last Jedi, like they did Act 2 Island, but they didn't do the what was it? What's it called? What's the
title of
the Rebellion is Reborn, right? Wow, I'm gonna have to listen to this. Thanks for the
What's the title of the CD?
It's called Music from the Star Wars Saga, the Essential Collection, and it's Robert Ziegler and the Slovak National Symphony Orchestra. Now they are doing, or they have re-recorded music from Rogue One, right? And They're going to be doing some of the Han Solo score as well, and then they're doing some Mandalorian music for another upcoming album. So I'm intrigued because their Rogue One suite is really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. And so, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I wish I could. I wonder if I could find that Star Wars album.
Well, Acoustic Sounds has it for $42.98. Amazon's got it for $47.98. And oddly, Big Bad Toy Stores got it on LP for $57.99.
What, that Star Wars Saga album?
Yeah.
Robert Ziegler.
Yeah.
I saw it in HMV in Edinburgh over the weekend for £6.99.
Well, that's cheaper than $42.98.
Sure, it's the same one. That just seems like an extortionate amount of money.
Is it a 2-disc set?
No, just a 1-disc.
Oh, is this it?
Oh, it could be 2 discs actually. It's an hour and 21. So. While Eric's looking for that CD, because this show is called the Batman Show and it's very rarely about Batman, I was coming up with alternative show titles. I know we'll probably still call it Batman, but this is just, you know, the first one I came up with, which has no relevance to anything that we ever talk about, was How to Scuttle a Battleship with a Short-Sighted Otter, because that's just as relevant. Another title I thought would be good was Do You Remember When 6 Wasn't a Number? I just don't.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain any of these.
Okay.
And the other one I came up with was the Batman Show.
Okay. And hello, Sound Engraver. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, I love your live streams. They're fantastic. Just absolutely engaging. I'm just stuck on that screen watching you talk about music. It's fascinating, and I had to apologize to her because I think I took over her chat on the last on her last show. And but it's I think she really knows her stuff. Holy smokes. I want to go back and watch all of the stuff that she's done. But I would love her to come on this show at some point because
that's cool.
she really knows what she's talking about. Yeah.
She does have like
Great
2 or 3
channel.
music degrees.
Yeah, man. Super smart. She knows what she's talking about. So yeah. It's a great channel. So anytime she's live, folks, go on and listen. It doesn't matter if you have no idea what she's talking about. When she's no, seriously, there's points where she's I don't want to screw this up. She's modulating some stuff through her computer and creating different sounds and voices, and it's just all, I'm like, what is she doing? She's coding, and it's really, really, really neat. But other times she'll engage the audience with like this outrageous headline and then start talking about film music or whatever. And yeah, it's really good. So it's cool.
Super Collider, that's what it's called. Yeah, the programming for music.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not smart enough to remember that stuff, but it's really neat what she's doing. It's interesting to see a composer like experiment in real time and try to find something new, and yeah, really neat stuff. So I'd subscribe, and just anytime she's live, just click on it and enjoy. Yeah.
And Sir Ian has sold me something this week, so I will have to order
me this time.
Well, I came into it being like, whoa, you know, I just spent $350 last night on an LP, so I got to be good for like at least next month.
I mean, I'm not sure whether it's on CD, and I'm not sure whether this is your type of music, but I'm gonna try to find the name because it's for this like obscure game score that just came out, but I can't remember
That
the
sounds
name of the
expensive
title.
already.
Yeah, this is it. Have you heard of Olivier de Riviere?
No.
French video game composer who wrote. Okay, I might sell you on 2 albums, maybe 3. He wrote one of my favorite scores of the past 20 years for a video game called Remember Me. And the cool thing about it was, and here, man, I can't do his music justice. I can't explain it properly. I did on my show because I did a ton of research and I just wrote everything down and read it, and it made sense when I was writing it all down, but I never really retained the information. But I'll try to do my best to explain it to you. When the first time I heard the score, I honestly thought that someone had ripped the music and the CD was skipping or not reading properly. So there's all these like digital distortions, like when you hear a CD skipped and it's not right. And I later found out that was all done on purpose. And then when you hear about the context of the game, it's all about storing memories and losing memories and finding your memory. And so anytime somebody gets their like memories ripped out of their head, these weird digital distortions happen. But it was written in a specific way that he would write only like 1 or 2 bars of music, and he would tell the orchestra that then to sustain like the last note, and the orchestra's like, what are you talking about? This doesn't make any sense. He goes, well, when I go back in and re-edit it all, I need that sustained note so I can add in all these other digital distortions and start playing with that note back and forth in real time during gameplay. So it essentially reminds me of like a distorted Matrix score. It's that good. So he has like the Philharmonia Orchestra performing it. There's a lot of interesting digital backbeats and samples and whatnot, but then he's doing all these weird digital distortions that again seem like he's cutting off pieces of music, or he'll play a chord, bring it up, but just distort it throughout time and then have it come back and play normally. It's so fascinating. So if you get a chance to even go to his YouTube channel and watch his process of creating these tracks, it is utterly fascinating. Him and Austin Wintory are just thinking like they are on top of it all compared to most composers these days. They're thinking outside of the box always on how to push music. Not to the point of just doing different for different sake, but creating new music that also just that just functions as intelligent music. Like for instance, there's a fight scene in Remember Me where Derivier has written like 8 bars of action music and has written about 12 different variations of that piece. And since fight scenes can last an infinite amount of time over the course of a gameplay, that you would play these 8 bars, which would then transform into, let's say, the next 4 bars, which would then go to the 12th setting, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and it all combines and sounds like one complete piece of music. It is fascinating. But then, let's say the user of the game stops fighting and needs to rest and get some help. He has written these transitional cues that then click on in real time and then fade off, but then he keeps a beat going, whether it's on a triangle or it's a digital beat, or it's an ostinato on a cello or a violin. And then when it kicks back up, he's written music that will then transition back into that action music. And the whole point of having 12 different variations of it is that when you play the game, you will never hear the same sequence of music the same way twice.
How do you spell his name?
Olivier, and then Deriviere. And he constructed the album with these segments. Like there's it's like a chase cue, and it has these fragmented moments that he combines into this superb action track that just feels like it was written from, beat 1 to, 3.5 minutes later, but it's all just fragmented little pieces of variations on an action motif that he wrote. So, and it also depends on the certain type of combination of like if you really do a left, right kick, it plays that variation of the piece. And then if you do another combination, he plays a different variation of that piece that is related to that combination that you use. So it's the amount of thinking that these guys have to do is unbelievable. But it's utterly fascinating, and they write brilliant music as well. Like that whole album is remarkable. It's a remarkable piece of art.
The way
And he
the way
does
you
that for all his
described
scores.
the way you've described it, it boggles the mind the amount of work that must go in to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
The thought process involved with figuring all that out is just beyond me.
And it's something that video game composers really didn't have to think of maybe even 20 years ago. Like for instance, Michael Giacchino would write, a piece of music, and then it would just kind of loop, or it would just stop after an action sequence and then go to something else. And then I can remember going to the Secret Weapons Over Normandy sessions, where then he started writing these like 30-second, 60-second, 90-second inserts that would complement a complete piece of music, so that if, let's say, you lost, he would play a theme that, oh, game over, the motif, or then it's you've saved the day motif, but it was written for that segment of the game, which then could seamlessly go from the action cue into that part of the game. But now the way that they are thinking is to keep it as fresh as possible, so that you aren't necessarily listening to a continuous loop, that you think that all of this was written specifically for your gameplay. And it's remarkable. Another video that everybody should go out and watch, just to understand the thought process and the mind of a current video game composer today. And I'm not sure whether they all do this, but I know that somebody like Austin Wintory does. He wrote music for a choose your own adventure video game that was actually filmed with it was a live action video game, but you like I said, choose your own adventure. So like if this character wants to do something, it asks you whether you want to open the door or go to another room or whatever. The game's called Erica. And Wintory goes into the process of how he would have to write music for the scene as is, and then as a decision is made, he would have to write music that would last for however long. Like you maybe have 30 seconds to make a decision. So he'd write a piece of music that was 30 seconds, but what happens if somebody makes the decision at 5 seconds? So he would have to write a piece of music that could transition out of that 5-second selection and then go into the next scene perfectly. And the way that he has it all mapped out is fascinating. And it just seems like way more work than what should be done for, let's say, even a film score, right? Because film scores are just linear. And here you have just, it's all over the place. And you're thinking of different decisions that the video game, that the player is going to make. And so he has 8 different ways that the music can go. And then that's all programmed in. And it boggles the mind. It really boggles the mind. But the fact that they actually think of it, I think is fantastic, because they're really thinking about the experience for the player. And I love that. I really do love that. But on top of that, they are also writing good music. Like Erica's is a fantastic score. It's a wonderful dramatic score on its own. And like I said, Remember Me is brilliant. What's the other one that he wrote that I absolutely love? Supernova is another great one. Greedfall is very good. And then he wrote this one. It's either World War I or World War II video game called 11/11 Memories Retold. Great dramatic score. But Remember Me, if you can get used to the sound of it, like again, it's as if you're listening to a CD skip at some points, or you're listening to an orchestra as if somebody was like, scratching a record, or it's repeating, but then moving on somewhere else. It's all seems like the organic meets the digital, and the digital sometimes fighting with the organic, and it's like nothing you've ever heard before. Yeah, I know I've talked for a really long time, but I just want to be sure that like Olivier de Riviere is just brilliant. And so his new score is called Dying Light 2 Stay Human. And I had to actually ask him about this on Twitter because I'm not really sure what the technical term was for it. But he's writing this score with 2 or 3 different rhythms playing at the same time. And I think the technical term is polyrhythmic. I could be wrong. And so you're hearing like this one beat, but then another beat comes in and it's just like countering that beat, but it sort of works. And then it all kind of like comes together and starts playing the same beat. It's crazy. It's a crazy score, but it's got a very techno EDM feel to it. But then he brings in an orchestra, and he credits the London Contemporary Orchestra, but it's actually all sample based. So none of it it's real instruments, but it wasn't performed live. It's all like whatever Spitfire does. And it sounds amazing.
Well, Remember Me is on YouTube, but there's no physical copy of it available.
Okay. Well, listen to Remember Me on YouTube.
I will.
I think it was the Chase Q. That's the first thing I ever heard, and it confused me, and then I fell in love with it.
Chase through March
That's
3?
It. Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Sounding great. We brought up a point that I had kind of kicked out of my brain, but now she brought it back in. Brass players have to be the best in the world to play John Williams. Yes, this is true. And unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Symphony does not have the best bass players for John Williams. Because they were playing some stuff, and I'm like, brass isn't quite with it tonight. And then he did the flying theme as an encore, and the orchestra was, no. I was like, just stop, y'all. Come on, just stop. And I could tell John Williams, he didn't look too happy during that conducting thing. He was kind of like, I'm like, yeah, just stop, people. But
it's
have
interesting.
You seen
sorry, just one more thing about like it's interesting because I went to a live performance of some John Williams music here in town, and we're a smaller city, about 300,000 people, and we have our own symphony orchestra, and so they're playing John Williams, and they're actually having way more difficulty with the quote unquote easier stuff than they were with something like The Adventures of Mutt from Crystal Skull, which they played perfectly. I mean, they were outstanding, but then they played something like The Terminal, which you would think would be a piece of cake. And the clarinetist was fine, but the rest of the orchestra, sometimes they were squawky, sometimes they weren't hitting it right. And but I mean, then I went to see the TSO, and I think we talked about this on the last show where I saw Empire Strikes Back live, and I don't know what the reputation of the Toronto Symphony Orchestra is around the world, but I've seen them perform and they've done a really good job. But I'm thinking, how are they going to get through the Battle of Hoth and the asteroid field without their lips bleeding? And they did not hit one wrong note. Not at all. The orchestra played it flawlessly. And I have heard Empire a million times, and I'm going to catch whatever it is that's going to go wrong. And the fact that you've got to go through however long the Battle of Hoth is, 20 minutes from start to finish. And then you have about a 15-second break before you're hitting that, Imperial March again to get in the asteroid field. And now you got to hit those high register notes for that asteroid field theme. And they nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Now that's when I realized, TSO, world-class orchestra. They're really good. Really, really good. And I was happy about that.
Well, I'm hoping the Boston Pops don't mess it up in like a month, because I will burn the building to the ground. Not really. I'm joking, you two. I don't really mean that. You can't burn it. It's a concrete building. But I wouldn't do that. I'm just talking like, talking silly smack. So
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky here in Edinburgh. The local orchestra that plays between here and Glasgow is the Royal Scottish National Orchestra. So they're great with film score stuff, especially John Williams. And I've been to about 3 or 4 of. They do a yearly John Williams concert. They do 3 days. They do one in Glasgow, one in Edinburgh, and I think one in Dundee or somewhere else. But they're always spectacular at them. Really
And
are.
when is this concert happening this year?
I missed it this year. It was in February this year.
Okay.
They obviously did their 90th birthday concert.
So next February, Eric and I are coming over and crashing at your place for 3 days.
Yeah, please do. You
Yep.
can crash somewhere.
I
what I was going to say though, what I was going to say was to do with John Williams Brass, the opening of Jurassic Park, the concert suite with that solo French horn. When that's played well, that's just beautiful, and that must be such a hard. It's only a very short piece, and then it goes softer. It's. Have you seen the Vienna concert where he conducts that?
Yeah.
And he just closed his eyes as the tiny little solo is played, and it's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I mean, I know that the French horn is a difficult instrument to play, but I can't imagine. I'm sure there's a lot to be done with the embouchure to make sure that you're hitting those notes correctly, and how much stress that player is probably under just to absolutely nail that, because you squawk a note and that's it. The piece is like, I mean, no, it doesn't matter what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
You've squawked the first 8 notes and sorry, man.
Because for 10 seconds, thousands of people are staring at you, and if you go, right. The whole piece is gone.
That's right. Yeah. I can't imagine. The amount of pressure. I mean, imagine that, having John Williams conducting you, and you're playing that solo, and that's the way the piece has got to open. You've got to nail it. Absolutely nail it.
Yeah.
And for the amount of music that they've played, the hundreds of pieces that they've already played, I mean, that must be one of the most stressful moments, I would think. But maybe not. Who knows?
Well, Pittsburgh is doing Jurassic Park, orchestrated film in July.
Wow.
And I was thinking about it, and I asked one of the usher lady that I was talking to. I said, "Are you going to have a chorus with it? Because if you do the Jurassic Park theme without the chorus, I kind of lose interest." And she's like, "Yes, we're going to have a chorus with it too." And I'm like, "Okay, you got me paying attention." So
I'm trying to think of how much is in it. Like there's 3-4 pieces maybe with chorus, right?
Yeah. But if you don't have them though, it's just not quite the same.
Yeah. Because they I think for Empire they piped in the orchestra for us, the chorus for the Cloud City piece. And I think that was recorded from the soundtrack itself. Which I think I'd be okay with that. Like, I mean,
yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Because you've got the bumpers and streamers going, so you're going to be on time. So you could play a recording through the loudspeakers of a chorus if you don't have one. So I mean, when they do Phantom Menace, do they? Oh, they haven't done Phantom Menace. I'm lying, man. That would be a mess. That would be and I'm pretty much sure that's why they haven't done the sequel, the prequel trilogy, of how much of a mess those scores are. They'll never do those live to concert. Never. Which is too bad. I would love it if Williams went back and rescored those. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Well, let's put it out there now.
Yeah. Let's do a Kickstarter.
John Williams, if you're watching, can you rescore those?
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take that opportunity? You're going to fix everything else. Like, why don't you go, hey, John, you want to fix Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones? Like, do you actually want to write some music for the clone battle because you didn't get a chance to, and fix certain bad edits? And because I want to listen to the John Williams Legacy interview with Mike Matessino, the recent episode, because they're talking about Superman live in concert, and I'm wondering, because Matessino had a hand in that, whether there was and he has direct connection with John Williams. Whether there was a way to smooth out edits and fix them, or use pieces of music that were cut out and put it back in, because I think that's what should be done. Like, I mean, the like the bad edit you have in Return of the Jedi where they're using tracked music from Empire Strikes Back, that should all be taken out, and you should be using the complete Through the Flames track. You know what I mean? Like, why are you adapting the horrible edits back into the? It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that at all. I would love to hear it the way it's originally composed. But again, most people won't care about that. But it's an awkward edit. I was watching I haven't seen Jedi live, but I was watching a YouTube video of it. And it's really a jarring edit. It makes no sense. But yeah, I mean, imagine he had a chance to go back and rework Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. That would be spectacular. I'd sign up for that. I'd throw whatever money I could at that Kickstarter.
What did they do for the scores for Superman? Because weren't the scores for Superman lost? Because it was reconstructed for the Varese re-recording, wasn't it?
Correct. That's right.
So the scores for these live performances, are they using the same ones? Is this like a completely new kind of reconstructed score for this?
And that's a good question. And I think that I'm going to have to fire up that interview with Matticino, because I'm sure he talks about it. On the podcast.
If that's the case, that must have been a mammoth task.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that if it's lost, they probably went to Kevin Casca or Varese, whoever owned it.
Okay, guys, I got an awesome idea here. Totally awesome sauce idea. John Williams concert in Houston this month. He's not conducting, but they're doing John Williams music. You can buy a live stream ticket. Do y'all want to have a live stream concert party? Tickets on me.
Wow. You know what would be interesting? And I know you're thinking about that one, but did you know about the James Horner concert that's happening on the 13th that they're live streaming?
Where?
Out in Poland. But they are going to be premiering Spectral Shimmers, which is James Horner's first classical piece that he wrote in 1979.
Wow.
It was performed once and never performed again. And there's another piece that he wrote, and I want to say for the Houston Symphony. I could be wrong. Again, performed once, never heard from again. But the James Horner fan society, or whatever they're called, they've put together this concert, and it's going to be out in Poland, and it's going to be live streamed on the 13th of May.
Okay.
And we're going to finally get to hear these two legendary concert pieces that nobody has heard before, with the exception of that live audience. And the thing is, the Spectral Shimmers was positively received, but nobody else wanted to perform it. And that's essentially the moment where Horner's like, I'm done with the concert world. What else can I do? And that got him out of the concert world and into film scores. So it's quite a historic piece, that transitional piece.
I know he said in an interview one time, why would I waste my time doing a concert work when no one's going to hear it?
Right. And that makes sense. And I mean, when I made mention on the end credit suite, James Horner end credit suite show that I did, that, I mean, as much as he always wanted to write for the concert hall, and he was going back to it again, it's really too bad that he died so young, because he was finally going back to that part of the music world that rejected him all those years ago. But, the end credit suites that he wrote always were these self-contained pieces of music. And that's what they were. They weren't necessarily, they weren't. When he was writing for the end credits, he could just write. He could write to whatever timing he wanted to. He can adapt the themes any way that he wanted to. And sometimes these pieces would last 15 minutes long. But I think that was the way that he could write his concert pieces, without having to go to the concert hall. And that's why those end credit suites are always so good. They're always so great. And I just wish that he was going back to the concert hall. I mean, if you've heard Pas de Deux, heard Collage, they're outstanding concert works. And so I'm really interested in hearing this this concert. But as for a live stream concert, yeah, that would be reacting to it would be fun.
So it's May 28th, Saturday, 8 p.m. Central.
Okay.
Ian's that can be too late for you, or?
No, it's the weekend. I'm off every weekend, so.
Okay, so put you down.
Yeah, that'd be great.
People in the chat, if you want a John Williams concert experience, comment, and then I'll need to get your email address. Tickets on me. You got to speak up now.
Yeah, and those that are interested in that James Horner concert, and I'm not lying, it's oh wait, so is it May 29th? I thought it was the 13th.
So you were lying.
I was lying.
You were
Why did I think it was
misinformed.
the 13th? Okay. Anyway, it's James Horner /filmmusic.com. And this is the group that are putting together the concert. So it is the 29th. So I was lying. No, that's not right either.
There's more lies.
It is no, because that was that was the original date. It was 29th, 2020. And it got canceled. Oh, so it is May 13th. Okay. So May 13th, yeah. James Horner -filmmusic.com. If you go there, it's the first news article and you'll see it. The James Horner Film Music Association is putting it together. And Spectral Shimmers and The Forest Passage are going to be performed. Spectral Shimmers is 44 years old and The Forest Passage is 22 years old. And this will be live streamed. And utterly fascinating that these guys were able to put this together with the help of, Sarah Horner, his wife, and this group. It's outstanding what they're doing for James Horner. And they're putting together a documentary. There's going to be an official James Horner book coming out at some point. So cool. Anybody that loves James Horner, yeah. Superman reconstruction. Oh yeah. Okay. So, when they wanted to re-record Superman back in 1998, they went to look for the pieces or the parts and they couldn't find them. Not sure how or why they were lost. So it was up to Kevin Casca and his orchestrating team to basically reconstruct the scores either by ear or by John Williams' sketches. And that's how they created the parts for the Res re-recording. But then again, they only recorded 90 minutes of music. So I don't know I don't think they reconstructed everything.
Yeah.
So, but they reconstructed what they needed for the re-recording. And
does nobody want to get in on this John Williams concert? I'm buying the tickets. You need a comment below if you want a ticket.
So this is that's the album.
I got that.
Yep.
So and
it's a 2 CD set. And they explain the reconstruction process in the notes. Let's see if there's anything else I can tell you about it. Yeah, they do a whole thing on the reconstruction of it.
Sound Engraver, it's May 28th. It's a Saturday, 8 p.m. You have to watch it as it goes live, unfortunately. It's the Houston Symphony. Okay, so Sound Engraver. David. Come on, there's like 8 more people in the chat. Don't be shy. We can have a good time with this concert.
Oh, no. Okay, so when they were looking for this, I mean, they might have found the pieces already. When they were looking for Superman, they went into the boxes that were labeled Superman, but they found Superman 2 and 3 instead. They think that might have been tossed because a lot of stuff from the studios like back in the 60s and 70s, just for space, they would just throw things out, like lots of props and music, and just so they never thought that they would need it again. So
crazy people.
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
So yeah, I basically was through sketches, 8 to 15 stabs long, and the sketches allowed Casca and his other assemblers on the project to reconstruct the scores. But again, there are probably differences in these orchestrations compared to what the final was from the original soundtrack, because who knows what changes were made on the scoring stage and whatnot. So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, Kevin Casca and his team. And I love this recording. I do. I like it a lot.
Did you get the La La Land release for Superman?
Mm-hmm.
Are you happy with that one?
Oh, it's the best presentation.
Very happy.
Yeah. It's very good.
The thing is that this one came out, I think, was it about 2000? Was it 98? Did it actually come out in 98? Or did it...
Yeah, it came out in 98, and then
because shortly
was
afterwards,
like months later, Warner Brothers Records released their expanded version, but that was all based off of like whatever they had at the time, the best elements, which wasn't like first gen masters, which is what Film Score Monthly found, and then they found even better quality versions or the multi-track. They actually found the multi-track for La La Land. I mean, the history of Superman, the releases, is quite amazing. But I mean, Superman on La La Land sounds like it was recorded yesterday. It's that good. So yeah, it's amazing Daniel, that we have that.
Do you have all the different versions of the Superman score?
I think so. I've got them all right here. Let me pull them.
I'm still in the room. I'm just not on camera.
I've got Superman 4. I've got the La La Land one that just came out. I've got this one's from Warner Archives. It's a 2-disc set.
Yeah, that's the one that came out months after the re-recording.
Yeah.
I've got Berserker Band 2-disc set.
Yep.
Do you have the blue box?
No. I've got the original CD.
The blue box was interesting because it had Ron Jones's. Did it have his animated Superman stuff on it? I can't remember.
I'm missing something. Wasn't there a release from Rhino or something like that?
Yeah, you just had that.
Rhino is that one.
Is this the Rhino?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Was there a Berserker Band release for Superman?
That's the re-recording one. That's that one. That's the Perez one.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one. Okay.
So the blue box had, what did it have on it? It had
Superman 2,
Superman the animated
3.
series. Yeah, with Ron Jones. So if you ever wanted that movie music, that only came on the blue box from Film Score Monthly.
Okay, and the La La Land is the 40th anniversary one, right?
Yeah, that's the definitive final release ever version. Yeah.
Okay.
That's future proofing. I think that's what.
I got Superman 4 for what it's worth.
Oh, that's brilliant. No, what it's worth, it's brilliant.
I love the Superman
I enjoy listening to it.
That's my favorite one, other than Williams' original. I think that's the best sequel score.
And again, it's got new John Williams material in it as well.
That's true. And I think at that time, we only thought there was 2 new themes, and then they found the third one. I think it was the Film Score Monthly box where they found the third one. Is there a best presentation of Superman? Yeah, it's La La Land. Get the La La Land Records version. There's no better version. But I mean, if you can't find that, and you go back to the Film Score Monthly blue box, then that's fine as well. And it's got a great booklet.
Thoughts like a kidney in the lung.
The blue box?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it was like $75 brand new. There were 6,000 editions.
They said 6. It was probably nearer 38,000.
But as for prices nowadays, like there was a second edition. Oh, there's a second edition. Okay. So Movie Music Store is selling it for $139.99.
eBay's got one for 200.
Yeah. There was they released it twice. So, and Discogs, they want
Superman by Barbara Streisand.
what?
I'm scared to click on it, but that's what eBay
Can you read my mind?
Oh, what? Oh, I remember that. My parents had that. What is that?
It's called a Barbara Streisand.
What is that? 19 studio album. And it was released in 1977. What does the Superman song sound like? I'm gonna play it.
Oh, I did finally listen to Kimberly. I enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
It's like
good.
Sentimentally 1990s kind of.
It's just so. It's the type of score that Polydorus really never got a chance to write. I think it's an odd story. So do you know what it's about?
No, it looked kind of like Audrey Hepburn-ish to me, though.
So it's I want to get this right. I want to see how many men it is. It's either 4 or 5. So right, it's not canoeing. Rowers. So these rowers, there's 4 of them. They all fall in love with the same woman, and I think she gets pregnant, and all 4 of them don't know who the dad is.
Wow.
I could be wrong.
I hate it when that happens. You just go on a Tinder date, then you get hit with like a blood test.
No, I think that's wrong. That was another.
That's Mamma Mia, isn't it?
4 young men fall in love with the same woman and struggle to keep their pact with each other not to woo her. But I thought there was something with not knowing whether she got pregnant. Yes. However, she ends up pregnant and no one knows which one of them is the father. So they make this pact like, none of us are going to ask her out. But then all of a sudden she's pregnant. And then all 4 of them said, yeah, we broke our pact, and they have to figure out who's the dad. Seems kind of odd, especially when you're listening to the score, but the score is very sweet, and but it's probably one of the cheapest looking Perez Sarabande albums ever. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. The font use. Is this Comic Sans?
Yep, that's the one I got.
Wow.
All right. So you have 3.5 minutes to come up with a cover. Go.
And so somebody screams in the back, I've got a Sharpie, I'll do the title.
All right, we gave you this photo and Comic Sans blue background. Go. My favorite, are they black? Oh, are they black and white photos in the gatefold?
I think so. Just like standard release for Sarabande.
And a little bit of and some notes.
Yeah.
But there you go. There's Perez Sarabande standard release. However, if it wasn't for Perez Sarabande, we would not have this album.
It's true. And it's short. It's like 30 minutes.
It's very short, but it's very good. It's a lovely, lovely piece. And I'm pretty sure Erik Colvin wrote some of the music for this as well. But it's lovely. It's a lovely score.
Talking of 30-minute Perez and Basil Polidorus, I got the score for Hot Shots Part 2 when that first came out.
Wow.
In 94. So I've still got the Perez CD of that. and on the back cover there's a or saying thanks to blah 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 blah, and I think one of the final notes is, "What is the Varese logo anyway?" Question mark. And when I found out there was a Varese kind of outlet in the UK, which I thought was great, so I could get CDs really quickly, I messaged them and saying, just I'm chuffed that you're here and you're providing CDs to us nice people in the UK. Back in '94, on the back of one of your CDs for Hot Shots Part 2, it said, "What is the Varese logo anyway?" And I asked them, I said, "What actually is the Varese logo?" And I didn't think I'd hear back. And literally within 20 minutes, I got a long message back saying it was the original people that started up Varese. They were looking for a logo, and it was an ink blot. That they tried dozens of them, and they tried blowing them with air kind of things
straws.
for
They use
airbrushing
straws.
things. Yeah, and use straws, and they just found one that they thought was interesting, and that became their logo.
Yeah, people thought it was a bird.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of like a piano.
No, it's just blown ink.
Yeah. So So what I like about it is because it follows along, like the credits follow along with the gags, like the gag credits as well, right?
Yeah.
So a music mixed, shaken, and stirred by Tim Boyle. Wife, Bobby Polidorus. A guy who takes 10% of Basil's income, Richard Kraft. So that's his agent. Barcode placement supervisor, Armin Luther. Assistant barcode placement supervisor, and there's 3 people credited. And then what is the Varese logo anyway? Best actress not appearing in this film, Lorraine Evanoff. Wrong notes, the third violinist. Thanks for the memories. And then extra really special thanks to Jim Abraham. I don't know who that is, but yeah, it's those are all the gag notes. Look how short that album is.
I know.
It's 8 tracks. Great cover though. Love the cover. Yeah. I love those. I love those albums. I go back to them. I've gone back to those 30-minute albums. I'm like, you know what? Some of them are really good. Really, really good.
I still go back to the original Conan the Barbarian. I've got the complete one, but I keep going back to just the first release.
Which one though? Do you go to Varese or you go to Milan? Because they're different presentations.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. Milan has the prologue music before the Anvil of Crom.
I guess it's the Milan one that I have.
Narration, I think.
Yeah, I've got the Milan one.
Yeah.
And that has the narration as well.
Yeah, that was on the Varese.
Yeah.
But then you have the Entrada one, right?
Like the 3-disc set? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the re-recording, which I'm not a fan of.
Then I've got it on just organ doing the whole score.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's
really good. It's really good. I would love to hear more scores transcribed for organ. Especially like you need a real melodic score, like a Miklos Rocha's score would be great on organ. I think they did. Oh wait, have you heard? Oh geez, what's it called? Entrada did a re-recording of Rocha's Easter scores. Oh, what do they call it? 12 choral? No, I'll find it. Hold on.
Okay.
While they're trying to find it, on the subject of Miklos Rocha, Robert Townsend put up a post on Facebook a week or so ago about I think it was Miklos Rocha's birthday, his 100 and whatever it was. And I said, what's your favorite kind of Rocha score? And I said, apart from Ben-Hur, which is always up there, I said I was always partial to Time After Time. And I was so chuffed. I got a message back from Robert saying, yeah, that's one of my favorites. And Juliette Rocha gave it a kind of thumbs up. So I got the double whammy I got a reply from Robert, which I was just chuffed at. And Miklos Rocha gave me a thumbs up. So
well, that's cool.
I was a happy chappy.
It's called Ben-Hur, King of Kings, the 12 Choruses. It is, if I'm not mistaken, it's, hold on a minute. Yeah, so it's transcribed for the Winchester Cathedral Chamber Chorus and organ. That's all that plays on it. And it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Another great Roja album, Kunzel did it, called I don't think it's 12 choral suites.
It's
I'm gonna have to
short.
find this
It
one
is
again.
like 49 minutes.
What's the Kunzel album called? If anybody knows what the Kunzel album is, please tell me. It's just it's choral music. It's all of Roja's choral music with the Cincinnati Pops.
Oh yeah, I bought that off eBay, and then the seller emailed me and said he couldn't find the CD, and he refunded my money.
Darn it! I'll have to look it up. It's
the 3 choral suites, Ben-Hur.
3 choral suites. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's not all choral music because I think they do the chariot race parade. But it's they did the Miracle from Ben-Hur, and it's spectacular. It's a really good album. If you can find it, yeah, three choral suites with Ben-Hur, Quo Vadis, and King of Kings. Mormon Tabernacle Choir. It's pretty awesome.
And you can get it for under $10 for shipping on eBay. There's enough of them on there.
Yeah, I would get them because I think also the Telarc stuff is all like out of print. I think Telarc doesn't even exist anymore. It was absorbed by someone else. But it's a 60-minute album and it's beautiful. And the Miracle finale from Ben-Hur is amazing. The Resurrection finale from King of Kings, like, geez. And it's all like Christopher Palmer does the suite arrangement for Quo Vadis. And then their Ben-Hur and King of Kings were all specially arranged. Telarc is out of business in print. Okay, that's too bad. They were one of the world's leading classical labels. I haven't heard too many albums that sound as good as a Kunzel Cincinnati Pops recording. It was just amazing.
I've got loads of Telarc recordings on CD.
They're pushing the boundaries for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the recordings got they weren't. I mean, about mid-90s, they started kind of going downhill a bit. But those 80s, early 90s recordings are fantastic. Super good.
Yeah, especially when they were doing bits and pieces from films, because they didn't sometimes they played famous pieces of scores, but they sometimes chose weird and odd things from films as well.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh, I haven't heard that before. So,
well, I mean, when I'm thinking of like Fantastic Voyage, which is a brilliant album, they do Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and you're like, okay, which track would you think that they would choose?
I know which one they chose,
right? And you know which one you chose. So
yeah.
I mean, when you think about Indiana Jones' Last Crusade, what are they going to record? It's going to be Scherzo for Motorcycle and Orchestra, and instead they do the Venice boat chase.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. It's so good. And for the longest time, oh my God, it is so difficult for me now to not hear the lyrics to Carol Ann's theme because of Kunzel and Telarc, because they did a choral version of it, but with lyrics, and I cannot not hear lyrics when I hear that that piece being played. But Fantastic Voyage, that's the one with the Batman suite, right?
That's right.
That opens it up. Oh. Whew, that's so good.
Yeah.
It's Fantastic Voyage or Fantastic Journey. I think I'm calling it Fantastic Voyage. That's the movie. Fantastic Journey is the album, right? Fantastic Journey. I'm calling it Fantastic Journey. But that's the first time I ever heard The Boy Who Could Fly. It's the first time I ever heard Beastmaster. It's the first time I ever heard Moonwalker. Think about that. You're right. When they're talking about those obscure titles, Moonwalker has never been commercially released. And the only place you can get it commercially is on that album. 4.5 minutes. And yeah, it's never been released. I mean, can you imagine that? Someone actually re-recorded music from a Michael Jackson music video. And Bruce Broughton wrote the score.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, Kunzel introduced me to a lot of great stuff back when I first started collecting.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to start heading on to work here pretty quick.
Yep.
You know, I was being really polite, but again, like the past 3 times, I am dying to go to another smaller room in my flat. Not the bedroom. Let's put it that way.
I understand.
Yep.
Are we good next week, or we want to skip a week, or what's y'all schedule like?
Well, actually, no, I can't do next week, unfortunately. So
Okay.
2 weeks would be good.
Yeah.
All right.
Or we can have Sound Engraver come on by and talk.
Sound Engraver, if you're in the house, you know what? I'll talk to her tonight. I'll ask her. See if she wants to come by.
Yeah.
But
I think I'm in. I don't think I have anything on the go, but you know, sorry.
The dog disagrees.
He's like, no,
that's not me.
Yeah, talk to me at the end of the week and I'll see where I'm at.
Okay.
Because shoots and edits just kind of pop up on a daily basis for me. So yeah. But this is always fun.
Are you good for Wednesday night for Commando?
This Wednesday?
Yes.
I promised you first, so yes, I'm gonna have to change something else out. So yes, Wednesday should be fine.
I mean, if not, we can do a following Wednesday.
No, because I promised you first, and I was gonna do something with Randy, but that's not. I'll do that later. I'll figure out another night for Wednesday. Monday. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can. If you can reschedule, if not, or just do it and I'll come back for another one. But I don't think I can on Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm thinking of it
I'll
right
find
now.
something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, I don't. From what I'm thinking of right now, I don't think that's going to work.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right.
Fine.
Well,
yeah. Fine. Watch Showgirls for the first time.
We may be back next Monday with a special guest, or we may not. I will post as soon as I know. Adopt, don't shop. Keep listening to great film scores. Subscribe to Ian's channel if you haven't. He's got some great content coming out, and he's got his little ostrich creature in some of the videos. It's way cute. And we'll see y'all next time.
Maybe we'll talk about Batman.
Maybe.
Maybe.